Hello, this is day 87 of reading one canto of the Divine Comedy every single day. We're on Paradiso, Canto 20, which I'll read from the Longfellow translation before giving some quick comments. When he, who all the world illuminates, out of our hemisphere so far descends that on all sides the daylight is consumed, the heaven, that erst by him alone was kindled, doth suddenly reveal itself again by many lights, wherein is one resplendent. And came into my mind this act of heaven, when the ensign of the world and of its leaders had silent in the blessed beak become. Because those living luminaries all, by far more luminous, did songs begin lapsing and falling from my memory. O gentle love, that with a smile dost cloak thee, how ardent in those sparks didst thou appear, that had the breath alone of holy thoughts. After the precious and pellucid crystals, with which begemmed the sixth light I beheld, silence imposed on the angelic bells, I seemed to hear the murmuring of a river that clear descendeth down from rock to rock, showing the affluence of its mountain top. And as the sound upon the cithern's neck taketh its form, and as upon the vent of rustic pipe the wind that enters it, even thus, relieved from the delay of waiting, that murmuring of the eagle mounted up along its neck, as if it had been hollow. There it became a voice, and issued thence from out its beak, in such a form of words as the heart waited for, wherein I wrote them. The part in me which sees and bears the sun in mortal eagles, it began to me, now fixedly must needs be looked upon. For of the fires of which I make my figure, those whence the eye doth sparkle in my head, of all their orders the supremest are. He who is shining in the midst as pupil was once the singer of the Holy Spirit, who bore the ark from city unto city. Now knoweth he the merit of his song, insofar as the effect of his own counsel, by the reward which is commensurate. Of five that make a circle for my brow, he that approacheth nearest to my beak did the poor widow for her son console. Now knoweth he how dearly it doth cost not following Christ, by the experience of this sweet life and of its opposite. He who comes next in the circumference of which I speak, upon its highest arc, did death postpone by penitence sincere. Now knoweth he that the eternal judgment suffers no change, albeit worthy prayer maketh below tomorrow of today. The next who follows with the laws and me, under the good intent that bore bad fruit, became a Greek, by ceding to the pastor. Now knoweth he how all the ill deduced from his good action is not harmful to him, although the world thereby may be destroyed. And he, who in the downward arc thou seest, Guglielmo was, whom the same land deplores that weepeth Charles and Frederick yet alive. Now knoweth he how heaven enamored is with the just king, and in the outward show of his effulgence he reveals it still. Who would believe down in the errant world that ever the Trojan Ripheus in this round could be the fifth one of the holy lights? Now knoweth he enough of what the world has not the power to see of grace divine, although his sight may not discern the bottom. Like as a lark that in the air expatiates, first singing and then silent with content of the last sweetness that doth satisfy her, such seemed to me the image of the imprint of the eternal pleasure, by whose will doth everything become the thing it is. And, notwithstanding to my doubt, I was as glass is to the color that invests it. To wait the time in silence it endured not, but forth from out my mouth, "What things are these?" extorted with the force of its own weight, whereat I saw great joy of coruscation. Thereafterward, with eye still more enkindled, the blessed standard made to me reply, to keep me not in wonderment suspended. I see that thou believest in these things because I say them, but thou seest not how, so that, although believed in, they are hidden. Thou doest as he doth, who a thing by name well apprehendeth, but its quiddity cannot perceive, unless another show it. Regnum caelorum suffereth violence from fervent love, and from that living hope that overcometh the divine volition. Not in the guise that man overcometh man, but conquers it because it will be conquered, and conquered conquers by benignity. The first life of the eyebrow and the fifth cause thee astonishment, because with them thou seest the region of the angels painted. They passed not from their bodies, as thou thinkest, Gentiles, but Christians, in the steadfast faith, of feet that were to suffer and had suffered. For one from hell, where no one ever turns back unto goodwill, returned unto his bones, and that of living hope was the reward. Of living hope that placed its efficacy in prayers to God made to resuscitate him, so that 'twere possible to move his will. The glorious soul concerning which I speak, returning to the flesh, where brief its stay, believed in him who had the power to aid it, and in believing kindled to such fire of genuine love, that at the second death worthy it was to come unto this joy. The other one, through grace, that from so deep a fountain wells that never hath the eye of any creature reached its primal wave, set all his love below on righteousness. Wherefore, from grace to grace did God unclose his eye to our redemption yet to be. Whence he believed therein, and suffered not from that day forth the stench of paganism, and he reproved therefore the folk perverse. Those maidens 3, whom at the right-hand wheel thou didst behold, were unto him for baptism more than 1,000 years before baptizing. O thou predestination, how remote thy root is from the aspect of all those who the first cause do not behold entire. And you, O mortals, hold yourselves restrained in judging. For ourselves who look on God, we do not know, as yet, all the elect. And sweet to us is such a deprivation, because our good in this good is made perfect, that whatsoever God wills, we also will. After this manner, by that shape divine, to make clear in me my short-sightedness, was given to me a pleasant medicine. And as good singer a good lutenist accompanies with vibrations of the chords, whereby more pleasantness the song acquires, so, while it spake, do I remember me that I beheld both of those blessed lights, even as the winking of the eyes concords, moving unto the words, their little flames. So the eagle points out several different souls that make up its being, that make up the eyes, the eyebrow, the beak, etc. It includes people like King David, the Emperor Trajan, Hezekiah from the Bible, Constantine, and Ripheus of Troy. Now, we notice that 2 of those are pagan. So it appears then that we have to clarify a little bit what was said last time. The eagle's answer to Dante's question, what about the poor man on the Indus? The answer wasn't, he's going to hell and, you just can't understand it. No, the answer was, you cannot know the ins and outs of where he's going and why. You don't know what God will or will not do for him. Because, you see, with Ripheus here, through a huge gift of divine grace, he was, quote, baptized 1,000 years before baptism was, through the virtues of faith, hope, and love. That's what Dante reports the divine eagle to be saying here. And in similar manner, Trajan, who was born in Christian times but died a pagan, the eagle says, yeah, he went back to his body for a split second just for the purpose of having the chance to believe, and then he died again. Now, would God do those 2 specific things from a doctrinal perspective, a theological one? I don't know, probably not. But I think the point that Dante's trying to show is we cannot know what he is doing, what divine justice is doing, and the ways that it will act outside of what we believe is possible. As he says, his will to mercy itself conquers his divine will. The only thing that beats his judgment is his mercy. The only thing that beats his mercy is his judgment, and they kind of go together. So yeah, on the one hand, you absolutely do have to try to follow God and choose God if you're going to try to get to the paradise here. But heaven is not uncaring. Ripheus of Troy, Virgil reports, is like one of the most virtuous Trojans in the city. And God saw that, and he looked down on him and had pity on him and gave him what he needed to die a Christian 1,000 years before Christianity. Humans are bound by the sacraments, by the visible, by that which they're able to understand and comprehend. Again, reason can bring you a whole lot of the way. But God is not bound by those things. He is above them. And while he is eminently reasonable, he is able to understand and do things beyond what we can. That's all for today, though. I'll see you tomorrow.